Welcome to the Farm Simulator 22, our 2023 beginner's guide for people that are new. Now, we're not going to get right into this because I don't want this to be a very long video. I'm not going to spend too much time at the main menu here, but there's a couple things I want to note. When you go to play a game, you can play multiplayer or career. And the other thing I really feel is important is a lot of players down the road, once you played a while, people don't always play with the mods that come into the game, but there's other maps you can download and play, and there are different equipment and buildings you can do, and there's different categories to go look at. And most of them don't wreck the game. There are some for me that the government subsidiary I'm not big on, but you'll have to find that stuff out for yourself. And when you go to create your game right here, you just click and you start with your standard starting area, and this is kind of self-explanatory. I want to get to the quicker part, the more important stuff here, guys. Once you decide which setting you want to start with, you'll select it, choose your map. Any extra DLC or modded maps will be towards the right, and then you will get a screen here, like you can see, for mods or DLCs if you have extra DLCs, where you can select or unselect all of them, or for example, we're going to unselect precision farming because that one, while it is an amazing mod and one of the best mods in the game or DLCs that have ever came out on Farm Sim, changes the game significantly for this beginner's guide. A few things right off the bat. There is actually a tutorial that Farming Simulator has as you load into your world like this. I highly recommend doing it if you're new to the game. For me, we're not going to be doing that because that's something you could do on your own time. A few things that I do want to show you, however, when you do load in, you do need a sleeping point eventually that help you out to advance time to your next day. And these question marks here, if you want to go up to them, they will take you to certain help menus in there, which you can actually reach by just hitting your on PlayStation start. But you can see you can go down to the help category down here. These menus in this game will help you out quite a bit. I'm not going to spend too much time on these. These are pretty self-explanatory for the most part. You can do contracts as well, which once you know how to play the game, there's nothing hard to about that at all. And you have different things you can take a look at in here. The one thing I do want to say is make sure if you don't, when you're new, your help window right here and your field info being on are going to be very important to you, and I will show you that here in a second. So when we go to look at this field, you can see down at the bottom right it says he needs lime. We'll get into what that is here in a minute, but you can see it tells you what you need in blue, or a lot of times it'll tell you what your next step is. You can actually do that by going to this map as well and changing your filters to growth or soil composition. I don't really use this a whole lot now that I played the game, for many, many years. I kind of know the steps that I need to do. The other thing that I think a lot of players don't actually know, even playing this game long term, is that you can select what you want on your hotspots to show up on the map by highlighting it, and you can see different things pop up. For example, you can see if we highlight tip stations, that's a lot of the sell points right there. Or, for example, if we unhighlight all of them and we wanted to know where the productions are, you can see where all productions are here, guys. Another thing, too, is when you're looking at your map, land you own, you can see the number of the field will be blue, or you can take in do a blue highlighted area. For example, you can buy land here just like that by highlighting it and buying this right there. So that's how you can expand your land as you go. A very important thing too is when buying equipment to use while farming, you want to go to your marketplace, which will be this icon on your map or next to a building, or you can always pull up your menu like this, the buying menu, which you can find sales or used equipment really cheap, which is a really good way to go about it. Or you can go in and buy new vehicles in their categories, which you'll find them. For example, In tractors, there's so many different options in each category. And if you have mods or DLCs, they will show up farther to the right as you go. But as a general, as a whole, otherwise the equipment will be sorted smallest to biggest. Real quickly, you can see at the top right of the corner, you will always see in the box the time speed, which you can turn up real quick. So as you can see here, we're going 240, and you can see the time is going real fast. I always leave it at real time because I want to always make sure I get everything done in that month that I always can. Also, you will see your money. The top left is your controls. The bottom right will be your field info if you're looking at it. And the bottom left is your map, which you can actually expand if you would like to do so. So, with your basic field, I have a set of steps that I always do that I follow. You guys can switch the order, particularly in fertilizing if you guys want to this, but this is how I always do it. First of all, we need a tractor, so we will go buy a tractor very quickly here, and I am just going to go buy this one. And you can customize it a lot. You can put different wheels and stuff on it. Just get it to the version that you want. You always want to make sure your tractor has enough power for the equipment. As you can see on the left side, it'll tell you the stats about the equipment. We're just going to go ahead and get this. And you look in here, you will notice, for example, in stone pickers, we'll go into stone pickers, and there is a horsepower rating requirement for a lot of them. They also will tell you the working speed down at the bottom, also what they can hold, and at the top right of the screen, I will use my handy dandy blue arrows if I can remember, but you can always see what that piece of equipment does. They are not always the same. Um, but for the most part, they're always similar. For example, in here, you'll get different writings on top. Each piece of this equipment does something a little bit different. So, as you can see here, we have a field with nothing in it that's been harvested. And the first step that I always do is I actually fertilize. So what we're going to go do is we are going to actually pick a fertilizer spreader. There is different variations. If you have animals, you can do manure or slurry spreaders, or you can do liquid sprayers. But for the time being, we're just going to grab one of these, just like this. We'll do extension, and you can always set it up the way you want. And then I am actually going to go to the shop. If you go into the objects, you're going to need some fertilizer to put in it, whether it's liquid or whatever it may be. Just make sure your implements are always filled. But this is the section, the menu that you go to for seeds or whatever a lot of the things you'll need in the game are. Now, the reason I fertilize very early is you can see it is really easy to see when you do it early on when you fertilize. Each fertilization step gives you 50%, so you do need to do it, in fact, twice. But you always want to make sure you get your whole field. So as you can see here, we missed this on this row, so we'll just come back and hit this row up. Now that you are done fertilizing, the next step I always do is plow or cultivate. As you can see, the bottom right corner doesn't say we need to plow, so we would just need to normally cultivate, and that would show up blue if you did need to plow. Now, one thing to note is some seeders and planters will actually do your cultivation as well, but for the sake of the video, as you can see right there, this one needs no cultivating or plowing before because it does it as well, and it actually does fertilize it. So just keep in mind some seeders do that as well. Just make sure when you are looking at them that you know that for what equipment you have. But for the sake of this video, I'm actually going to go ahead and plow. And plows or subsoilers work for plowing. They both count for that if that is highlighted on your field info. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a plow and go plow the field. So as you can see, we're going to lower the plow and plow. And also another thing, guys, if you want, you can know up at the top, You can see you can hire a worker, which I've done, and he can do the work for you. It will cost you money, and they can't do every task in the game, but that will help you out quite a bit. Another thing with this with plowing, we'll dismiss the worker, is, and as you can see, allow create fields. If we decided we wanted to extend this field out a little bit, like right here, if you have that option enabled, it will do that. Now, if you turn that option off, you can see it doesn't make a field. For step 4, I will actually go ahead and just refertilize the whole field again to give us our whole 100% on fertilization. As you can see, there are some small rocks coming up. The more you plow and cultivate and work the field, the more they will come up, and they will actually hurt your vehicles. You can see the wrench on the side. That is the working condition of your vehicle, and you can actually repair that if you have a little work area right here, like so. And the next step is to get rid of them stones if you have them. Now, normally this would be okay. You could probably roll these into the ground in a later step, but for the sake of the video, I want to show you how to pick them up. They do get pretty bad, and they can get kind of annoying, but this isn't a step you have to do. This is a step I just want to show you. As you can see here, it will pick up the rocks just like that, and that is in, you can buy a stone picker in the stone picker category, guys. Now, same with step 5, it isn't always going to be needed, but you need to check and see if it needs lime. And as you can see down in the bottom right, it says needs lime. Now, for your equipment, you can actually go into your fertilizer spreaders, and you can see which ones can actually spread lime as well. So the fertilizer is the bag with the green leaf on it, and the lime is the pile, the little pile with the rock in front of it. And you can see some of them do it and some of them don't. So you want to make sure you get one that does. Now, you won't have to do this all the time. It's one of them things like the rocks, if you have it turned on, you will have to do it once in a while. Step 6 is to actually plant or seed your field. There is a lot of different options when you come to this. Now, make sure when you are buying it, make sure you're buying the right crop type that you want, because there are different types of planters and seeders. For example, the planter categories are row crops like corn, sunflowers, and other various ones. And your seeders are for small grains. And make sure as well on the top right, you're making sure what the equipment does, because some equipment can actually put down fertilizer as well, and even uh, cultivate. Also, if you go look at the crop calendar, you can see when certain crops can be planted and when they will be harvested, depending on which map you are on. Also, if you want, you can change your seeds rate on that top left on your controls part. You don't need to get different seeds. We are actually going to plant wheat. It is the correct time for wheat. After you plant the crop that you do want, you will go ahead and roll it. You can see it'll say needs rolling. This is a step that isn't super important, but if you do want the extra 2% yield, it is something you want to do, and it is somewhat hard to see where you've went. So a lot of times I will go crossways with the way I planted it, and that will help out quite a bit. Step 8 is dealing with weeds. There's a lot of ways to do this, but if you want the way I do it, which is a little bit different than everybody else, but it is the most effective way in my opinion, is right after you plant. As you can see, we are still in the same month that we planted. We are going to go ahead and weed. Now, depending on which weeder you use, there is a few methods. Uh, you might have to wait until a later time in the growth stages. If you want to do it right away, like I do, you're going to want to use one of these sprayers with herbicide that you can buy in the store. Otherwise, you can wait and you can do it with the one of these weeders right here, but you have to wait until the growth stage is appropriate for it. Now, in my opinion, using the herbicide is the best method because you can do it at pretty much any growth stage. If you do it later on, like any of the other weeders, you're probably going to want narrow tires equipped on your tractor so you don't destroy your crops. Another thing to note is if you use a subsoiler or a plow to cultivate your land, you will not have to worry about weeds. Next, you will let it grow. As you can see, we got the full yield a bonus going, and the earlier you attack those weeds, the better off you are. If you wait too long, you'll start to use part of your yield bonus. Once it says the crop is ready to be harvested, you're going to want to make sure you have some sort of tractor and tipper that can carry the selected crop, just like you're going to want a harvester for the selected crop. Now I'm using a big harvester. With that being said, probably want to use have a harvester that is um, harvester and equipment that is best suited for you, whether you're kind of a small farm or a big farm. So tippers you can get right up here in the trailer section, and you can see what type of grain they actually haul or crop that they actually haul. With that being said, too, with harvesters, it is the same thing. You want to make sure you have the right harvester and head included. So, for example, down at the bottom, you can see it says combinations. When you click that, it will give you recommended headers for that harvester, and that happens for a lot of the different combinations of equipment in the game as well. You can kind of see what works with what. For example, this is a corn and sunflower header, and this is a small grain header. A few things worth noting while using your harvester. You cannot harvest in the rain, and you're always going to want to unfold it and make sure you have your header lowered when you turn it on. Also, as you can see right here, we can either drop nothing behind it, or if it is oats, wheat, or barley, we can actually, you can see I switched it here, and we are going to enable straw out the back of it, which you can use for animals, and it will put it down in a nice row like that. There is a few things you can do with your crop in this game. Obviously, you could sell it. If you are going to sell it, you're going to want to make sure you get the correct prices for your crop for the season. As you can see, the prices change throughout the year, and you can see different places give different prices. Now, if you want to wait to sell it, you could put it in a silo, or you could put it through a production that will turn it into a different product that will sell a lot of times higher for you as well. And then just make sure that you either store or bale that's the straw if you do have that from your crop. We're going to store this wheat in the silo instead of taking it somewhere on the map to sell. And the last step, which some people might not always feel worth it, but it is a 2% bonus to your yield. To make sure you get a 100% bonus, is you're going to want to get a mulcher and mulch your field. And right here, as you can see, there is a few different options within mulchers. And like everything in this game, make sure you have the right equipment for the right job. Everything has a different working speed, horsepower requirement, etc. Also, in addition to finding vehicles on sale, another option to save some money is instead of buying a tractor, for example, for 162,000, as you can see on the bottom left, you can actually lease it for 8,000, but you have to pay working time and monthly costs on it. But if it's something you're not sure if you want, or if it's something you're going to need for a short time, it may be cost effective to lease. Also, a few quick things at the end here. If you do need money, you can actually, there is a loan system in the game that you can borrow money or pay it back when you are done with it. So that is one good way to get ahead if you want. Just keep in mind there is a loan interest every month, and there is some really cool other things if you guys want to learn, like with your construction, you can build sheds or productions or place or have animals. And I will be doing guides on them as well. They are in the playlist linked down below. But hopefully this helps you out, guys. And we'll see you next time. Have a good one, folks.